presence in the film too. Like I liked his performance as well. But we'll talk about that specifically when we get into characters. I'm looking at your face.
Yeah, you know my answer
Eat
to
a
that
bag
one.
of shit, Drew. Choke on your cheese. Hey, Toddo.
What's going on?
We got a podcast, The Buff and the Blazer. If I was a listener, where would I go to find more?
You can check us out on our website, thebuffandtheblazer.com. Drew over there writes a article that goes along with every single episode.
You can find all kinds of little extras on the articles, and you can listen to the podcast right there. Also, you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And, of course, we're on Twitter at Buff and Blazer. Follow us there.
Get those clicks, people.
The Buff and the Blazer.
Welcome to the Buff and the Blazer, episode 47. As always, I'm Drew, and I'm here with my good pal, Mr. El Toddo.
What's going on, dude?
What's going on, man?
Nothing much.
You look warm and toasty in your sweater.
It is winter where I live.
Winter is coming.
It was like in the 20s at night all week. It was lovely.
Yeah, you could see all the snow from down here, just
Nice.
looking up at those mountains.
It'll be gone quick, but it was nice to
Yeah.
get an early dusting.
It's a nice sight. We got another semi-oldie this week. By semi-oldie, the last probably, 3-4 years. We're talking Wonder Woman. Directed by Patty Jenkins, starring Gal Gadot. And I figured since it's kind of slow with the new releases coming out, we could get a back catalog going. And it'd be a good time to review this film since Wonder Woman 84 will be coming out relatively soon. So let's jump into this. I really want to know, because we haven't spoken at all about this.
Well, we also
Off
haven't done
air.
any superhero movies all year because there hasn't been any, right?
Yeah, this is one of the first ones, I think, right, that we've done? The first?
I guess Birds of
Trying to
Prey was like
Yeah,
kind
that's
of
technically-
a similar vein.
Technically a superhero film, yeah. So what did you think first time watching Wonder Woman?
Well,
2017.
I haven't seen, so I think I've said this before, but I haven't seen like really any superhero movies since the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man,
Why is that?
because I was like, man, this really sucked. That movie really sucked, and I liked Spider-Man a lot as a kid,
Oh, they ruined Spider-Man for you.
and I didn't want, I wasn't that into superheroes as a kid anyway,
Yeah.
but as soon as I've had these like movie turning points in my life where I've seen something and been like, that's no mas, like I'm not doing that anymore.
All
And
right,
I've
fair
kind of
enough.
been that way with superhero movies.
All right.
And I tried to watch, the Christian Bale Batmans and
Mhm.
turned them off
Okay.
because I didn't like them. And this movie just really, really reaffirmed that I don't like superhero movies.
All right.
Now, there were some parts of this movie that I actually really, really, really liked, man. Some of the action scenes, like when she rushes the front line through no man's land, like I really liked that. Some of the fight scenes were
Yeah.
pretty awesome.
When this film first came out in 2017, that's all anyone was talking about was No Man's Land. That sequence.
It was great.
Yeah.
It was
okay.
awesome. But with how good some of those were, and I really like the beach Amazon woman cavalry charge of the Germans and stuff, like I was digging it in the beginning.
Okay.
But outside of that stuff, it is like it was really hard to watch for me.
Okay.
Just like the amount of cheese layered on
okay.
everything.
Yeah.
And like how I can't take anyone seriously
Uh-huh.
in those types of roles,
All right.
So yeah, and like the music was so bad. The score was it was like cringe worthy the whole movie for me.
Okay.
And It's the first time I've ever seen Gal Gadot in a movie, and she's awesome as Wonder Woman. And she was
Yeah,
probably
she's good.
like the only her and one other person we'll talk to when we get into characters.
Okay.
But she was about the only one that I bought into, which is funny because she has the superpowers.
Yeah.
So it was quite the flub, man. It was a slog. I paused I don't know how many times to check how much was
So
left.
you really connected with the goddess of she spoke to you.
And like I kind of like the whole. I had no idea the story of Wonder Woman. I
Yeah.
didn't really read comics as a kid or anything.
Uh-huh.
So like, yeah, man, it was just. I kind of liked the whole callback to Greek mythology and stuff. I didn't know like that was her lore. You know,
Mhm.
like that's
Yeah.
the era of the gods that she's from. I had no
Yeah.
idea. I thought she had some wacky story like Superman on another planet or something. Like I literally had no idea what her backstory
Yeah,
was.
like she slipped on a banana and drank some chemicals on the way down.
Yeah, or something. You know what I mean? Thought it was your. So I liked that aspect of it, but it was just so cheesy.
Gotcha.
And it was a slog, dude. My lady was watching with me, and she just kept saying, "This is like ridiculously silly," and like, "Why are you watching this?" I was like, "I know,
I know.
I know,"
Oh, so sorry. So sorry.
but it's meant for kids, right? It's a kids
Um,
movie, kind of,
Sort of.
because it's totally like there's no blood, there's no gore or anything with like intense warfare going on.
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it because I think your problems with this film are
Because I'm an adult.
no. See, I think your reasoning lines up perfectly with how you described it when you said you're just not into superhero films.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to do with if you're not into superhero films, that explains a lot of the reasons you point out to why you don't like this film. So we'll talk a little bit about that.
But this is a change, you know, like we're constantly
Yeah.
loving all the movies that we review.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
this
yeah.
is good.
For sure. All right. I really like this movie.
Okay. Well, sell me on it then. You know what I mean?
All right. If you think this movie's bad, this was one of the highest rated films from the DC lineup.
I thought Birds of Prey was a DC movie, right?
That's a DC movie.
I like that way more than this.
Although I would be curious to see what you thought of Man of Steel. Because a lot of traditional Superman fans didn't like that film because they thought it was too dark for Superman.
See, that's what I want in a movie like this.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So I think, actually, for all the reasons you just described, that's why I like this film.
Okay, like
So,
it's
like, I guess when I come to movies like this, I do have to suspend some idea of, like, reality and just buy into the cheese, because that's what superhero films have become their own genre almost. So if you don't like this film, it's probably just because you don't like the genre, because the superhero genre as we know it with Marvel and DC, less so with DC though, even more with Marvel, they're all about cheese. They're all about laughs. And they try
there's not a lot of laughs in this one at all.
Yeah, there's a lot of cheese though.
Oh, dude, it's
It's a cheeseburger.
double cheese the
Double
whole
cheeseburger.
movie.
But yeah, there's something like, and maybe I do come into these films with a little bit of the lens of a child too, watching these films, because as a kid I was into superheroes. So when I'm able to see this stuff with more of an adult lens than what you're typically used to, like watching Power Rangers or something, where they take it a little bit more seriously, it was cool for me. And like, I think what I like most about this film is the lore. So all the Greek mythology stuff, like you said, I loved everything about Themyscira, but on top of all of that, I loved how they set it in the backdrop of World War I. So that was pretty cool. What was interesting, though, is this film, when it came out, was compared a lot to Captain America. Because Captain America is almost like a similar story in that he's kind of like a fish out of water in some sense. Well, maybe not till later, but Captain America is set in World War II. And so it's kind of like it was the competition almost for Captain America on the DC side. But Gal Gadot's good in it. My biggest problem with this film, to be honest, is some of the special effects. Like some of the special effects look really bad.
It's really hit or miss. There's some that's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, like a lot of the training, the Amazon training fight scenes in the beginning, like some of that special effects with the bows and arrows and the jumping around is awesome.
Yeah, and DC has this weird thing. Like, I think one thing Marvel has down to a science is the special effects. Even with, like, the Hulk being some crazy creature like that. But with DC, I hate it whenever they do, like, a full-on CG model of a real-life person and use that in, like, an action sequence. And it just looks so out of place. And, like, the motion looks too heavy. And it just looks off. And then they cut to, like, a close-up. You get that a lot in this movie, and it's really, really bad. And I remember that I said that even when the film first came out.
And you still love it.
And I still like it.
Like it.
I like it because, well, first off, I think Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman is badass.
Yeah, she's awesome.
So good. She's so good. And I was like, I remember when I heard they casted her in the role, I was like, oh, that's not who I was expecting to be Wonder Woman. And she fits it like a glove. I think Chris Pine, actually, her co-host, I thought he's a really good presence in the film, too. Like, I liked his performance as well. But we'll talk about that specifically when we get into characters. I'm looking at your face.
Yeah, you know my answer
eat
to
a
that
bag
one.
of shit, Drew. Choke on your cheese. And I really like the score in this movie.
Really?
I love the score in this movie, man. Oh, yeah.
I wanted to mute it at points.
And probably my favorite bit is when she's crossing no man's land. That whole score sequence. But anyways, and then I kind of like what they do with the end of the film in terms of like Ares as a character, and we're gonna totally dive into spoilers in this review.
Full spoilers.
It's been out for years, so I like how Ares he paints mankind as a bunch of shitbags, which in total we are basically
Pretty much.
But I like how it ends with more of a hopeful sort of how she's like, yeah, even with all their shit and all their baggage, like they're still good. They're still good out there. And I like that message. And that's just like me being naive about it. But when I go into these films, I like having some sense of like childish, naivety when you watch a film like this.
For kids, it's spot on.
Yeah.
From like a simplicity standpoint message.
Let me ask you this before we start going into specifics, but okay, from the standpoint of a child, is this something that you buy into in terms of what they're selling, like the message they're trying to sell to kids?
Yeah, it doesn't.
If there is a message.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem off-putting. As an adult, it was like very predictable, and you knew exactly we've been getting the same message forever.
Right.
But yeah, the bravery and the good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know. I've seen it before.
Okay.
I guess that's been drilled into me my whole life. So
yeah.
But then they're also making bad messages to kids by thinking London is a boat ride away from the Mediterranean, man. One night's sleep away on a sailboat.
Yeah.
That ain't happening.
Well, I mean, they disembarked from an invisible island, so you gotta...
But they're in the Mediterranean, dude, because it plays out because he steals the plane from Ottoman territory and probably flies out across the Aegean and crashes into the fucking island, so...
Yeah.
Because they play that sequence out. I'm sure kids aren't going to put that together, though.
The smart ones might. I don't... yeah, maybe there's someone out there that's like,
maybe I'm the only person
this just doesn't line up on the map.
That just bugged me.
But you're consistent about it at least.
If you're going to use real world locations and elements of the plot that have to do with geography, just make it line up.
Yeah. All right. So let's do like a let's make this like a court case. So, what are your list of? All right. So if you had to pick
charges
one thing, one thing, if you had one massive charge against this film, what would it be?
The score.
The score?
Yeah.
Okay.
It makes it unwatchable to me, man.
So it adds to your cheese factor.
Yeah, like you can, when the dialogue is super basic and super cheesy,
Uh-huh.
and then the score is like beating that cheese over the head
Uh-huh.
by somehow implying that you're not getting the mood of the situation.
Yeah.
With how basic the dialogue is.
Mm-hmm.
That's
all right, I'll give you that. I'll give you
That's
that.
my largest charge by far.
Yeah.
Is the score.
Yeah, it's like playing down to audiences. It's like, just in case you don't know that this is a sad moment.
Yes.
Here's a sad violin.
Yeah.
All right, I get you. All right, let's see. Okay, was there one scene where you were just like, oh, God?
No.
No? Okay, just in general.
Yeah. It was
Okay.
more of like, I don't need to watch anything in between the action scenes kind of thing.
Right, gotcha.
But I did. I didn't fast forward or anything. I watched the whole thing.
Okay, and then for you, I guess, it seems like this was pretty predictable.
Yeah,
Like where
so
it ended
I was a bit surprised, like story-wise. I was a bit surprised and kind of intrigued by her whole backstory because that has
Yeah.
a bit of a historical angle that I'm into. And then I
Mhm.
did like how it was kind of weaved into World War One.
Yeah.
And as far as an arc goes, it's just a regular superhero movie, you know? Like I know exactly
Yeah.
what's going on. Like at no point did I think Ares was going to win the battle at the end, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, let's give that to kids. So you see Wonder Woman, she's dead.
Yeah.
She's dead.
End of the franchise. And so like it was a weird kind of like, yeah, I'm somewhat interested in the backstory.
Yeah.
It had my ears perked up, but yeah. I didn't the whole romance thing of it was like, yes, it had to be there, but it was so fucking long. There was like so many long, slow discussions between them.
Yeah.
And it was just like, just have her fucking go fuck some shit up again. That's all I wanted to see the whole movie, man.
All right. Let's see here.
I will.
Well, what were... Oh, go ahead.
I'll give it to him a little bit on the ending of the movie because there's like a little bit of consequence, I guess. So I'll give it to him there.
All right. So I think another major reason that I enjoyed this film so much is because I liked how they incorporated the fish out of water thing with Diana in the movie. So I like how she's kind of living this old world life, this like ancient Greek life. Mythological, and then she gets thrown into, you know, the 19-teens during World War I.
I like that aspect of it too.
So like she's walking down the streets of London and she's just like wide-eyed and trying on dresses and stuff, and she's just like, you know, how does a woman fight in this stuff? I like that element. Like I really enjoy the fish out of water thing with her. And then actually I think they're going to be playing into that too with the second one, Wonder Woman 84. It's funny that you mentioned that there was some consequence with Steve Trevor being killed in this film because you see him in Wonder Woman 84, but I don't know why or how.
Oh, he's a ghost?
Yeah, I don't know.
Or
I'm not sure.
Pulled his ejection seat and shot the
It
gas on his way out the plane.
It probably has something to do with the villain, but I'm not sure.
Oh, maybe he's
But yeah,
brought
just
back to life by Ares?
I don't know. I'm not sure. But yeah, just any little brownie point that you have for this film, I want to suck that out of you. Let's see. So what are some of the things you liked?
So like,
Or what was like a favorite? You talked about the No Man's Land sequence.
Yeah, like sequence wise, I really liked a lot of the action, you know, but story wise, I did like the whole Greek side of it, like the whole like you're saying the fish out of water thing, because I have reference to it a little bit in my brain, you know. So that and the World War One aspect I liked a lot. I think what I really disliked about the story was the arc of it.
Yeah. Okay.
So how do I say this? The details or the context of the story I liked, but the execution of it I didn't like very much.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
And I know the way it ended is, of course, this is like going to be 5-10 of these in the long run, right?
Something like that.
So I get it, you know? And I'll see the next one simply because of how sweet the action was.
Yeah.
And maybe they could tell a grittier story. Like, don't they do that as these franchises go on?
It depends.
Or do they stay full cheese meant for 8-year-olds type of thing?
See, I think when they started off, because, let's see, Marvel had their universe, and then they did all those Avengers movies that you hear so much about. And then DC got into it. They got into it with Superman. And people were like, this ain't like Marvel. Like, you guys are taking this stuff way too seriously. Like, you got to lighten up a little bit. So what I'm saying is Wonder Woman, this film, it started to make that transition to where they were like, they started to go away from the dark and like serious elements. So actually, I'd be curious to know what you thought of like Man of Steel. And then after Man of Steel, there was a Batman Superman movie where Wonder Woman makes her first appearance.
Is that after this?
It's so it's before this film. That's when she was introduced on screen in this character. And that's why in the beginning, I don't know if you noticed, but they have like some dudes with like Wayne Enterprises suitcases.
I did notice that.
Yeah, so that's an extension of her appearance in that Batman Superman movie.
Well, I'm slightly more interested in that version of Diana because her little office in the present that's revealed in this movie with all the old armors and like swords and all the artifacts. She's even got like an old hominin skull on her desk.
Yeah.
Like, I'm way more interested in that than this, but this is like an origin story, so I guess I have to not be such a dick, right?
Well, it's not so much that you're being a dick. I just don't think that the superhero genre is your cup of tea. That's what I think it is. Because like when you look at superhero films, especially origin films, it's like introduce the character, like give them some cool action, maybe test them a little bit, but then have a happy ending.
Yeah.
And then like everyone's happy.
Coming to age, harnessing their powers.
Yeah, like cheesy like love scenes or whatever. I mean, that's very like there's a lot of examples that go against that formula, but in a nutshell, you can put the genre into a kind of formula, I guess. Marvel's like all about playing up the comedy.
Okay. I
DC
could have done a lot more comedy in this one, like the first scene in London is like fairly comical.
Yeah.
And then that's basically it for the rest of the movie.
Like, I love her banter with Steve Trevor, like when they're on the boat talking about like human sexuality and stuff like that and why he can't sleep next to her. Like little awkward moments like that I really like. But yeah, I'd be interested to know what you would think of like the first 2 or 3 DCEU films, because their tone is quite a bit different from this film. Well, and then it's like they kind of lighten up even more.
So was the last Joker considered a DC film?
It's a DC film, but it's separate from this world.
Oh, okay. Because like I love that.
Yeah, that one's like ultra hyper realistic.
Yeah, like I wouldn't even consider it a superhero movie at all. You know?
That's just a good movie.
Yeah. But if that's the tone they're in, like I would love to see a Wonder Woman in that dark of a tone. Yeah,
it's interesting that so that those Dark Knight movies with Christian Bale, like those were actually.
I know I got to see him at some point because.
Yeah, like if you wanted real world Batman, that's probably as close as you're gonna get, because those films are almost like cop films.
Yeah.
Featuring Batman. But like I know you have problems with Christian Bale, like a lot of people do.
Not him in any other thing except a Batman mask.
Yeah.
The second he starts talking,
voice.
I can't take it seriously.
Yeah, the Bat voice is like a problem for a lot of people. But yeah, at least that wasn't a problem for this film anyway, with Wonder Woman.
No.
Not that I know of.
No, like I wanted her. She was like the only person, I think I said before, that I bought into. So I just like wanted her to be on screen the whole time.
Yeah.
All the outside elements of the story.
Would you be surprised to know that this is the first major film that she ever starred in?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then I think, this is 2017.
Yeah.
She's really been in my whatever movie star awareness bubble
Right.
for about 3 years, so I guess it does make sense.
Yeah, so before this film, I guess she had a small part or a role in Fast and the Furious, in the Fast and Furious
Which
franchise.
Number
One of the 15 that are out
5
there.
through 9. I've only seen the first one of those. I saw it in the theater when I was like, I don't know, 13 or something, 14 maybe.
Yeah. There's something
Six.
about the Fast and the Furious I just can't do. But, yeah, that's my bias. But anyway, so when she got cast in this role, she was relatively unknown. And this was the first role where she like did all the lifting.
Okay, that's interesting because perspective-wise, going into the movie, I kind of had the idea that she was like a super duper movie star and has been in a ton of leading roles.
Yeah.
And she totally came across that way.
Okay, sweet. Well,
So,
yeah.
that's
we're already
kind
into
of
it.
that's a little surprising.
Yeah, okay. But now she's like I love her in this role. I thought she totally owned it. Let's talk a little bit about some of the other performances. You seem like you weren't really sold on a lot of them.
Any of them except and this is just because I love him in other movies. Ewan Bremer. He plays
okay.
Charlie,
Yeah.
the drunken sniper.
Yep, yeah.
He's the only other one that I was like, oh, I like that dude. Everyone else, I couldn't take seriously at all. I think this is the first. I've seen Chris Pine a ton, but I've never seen him in anything. I don't think. Like actually acting. I've only seen him on like TV talk shows and stuff.
Yeah,
Late night and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe, yeah, and no, I didn't buy
No go.
one bit of any of it. Dude.
All right.
Not one bit of any of it. He doesn't come across as being alive in that time period at all.
Oh, yeah. He's like totally playing a 2017 version of himself in 1919.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. No.
I didn't buy
okay.
it one bit.
I get you. That's oh man, that's super fair. Super fair. Okay, I can't fault you for that cuz I was sitting down rewatching it and I thought the same thing. I'm like what are you going to do? This
Dude,
film isn't
1917, every person in that movie you believed that they were that from that time period.
Well, no. So what I'm saying is I would hope a film like 1917 takes that into account. I guess I can forgive Wonder Woman a little bit more for that.
That's the kind of hack with superhero movies, right? It's like they can get away with so much
Right.
because of the giant fireworks.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I mean, they're essentially fairy tales. That's what superhero films are.
yeah.
But no, that's a really good point, actually. Because I was just thinking it, too, watching it this last time. I was like, he seems like a very modern man.
Well, at first, like when he started talking, like when she pulls him up onto the beach, and I was like, all right, he's in a German plane, so I thought he was German.
Yeah.
And then he starts talking, and I'm like, all right, well, he's an American. And then right away, I was just like, man, he could be like doing a sketch on the Tonight Show. You know what I mean? Like I didn't believe it one bit.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then all of the kind of German accent stuff.
Oh,
and
so
like,
that's a criticism I had when the movie first came out, and I'll say it every time it happens. But I hate it when they take German soldiers and have them speak English with a German accent. I hate it.
I do too.
Or any other language like that, where they have them speak English in some kind of other accent. Like, just have them speak German and put up the subtitles.
Oh, I want to give, since you said that, I want to shout out Netflix real quick, shoehorn them in, because they just came out with a series called Barbarians.
Yeah.
And it's like a hyper-realistic historical drama, and the whole show's in Latin and German.
Oh, wow.
And it makes it so much better.
Yeah.
Like, so just hell yeah, Netflix for doing that.
I think the only bit of German you even come across in the whole film is the machine gunner during the trench sequence, and he's shouting something in German, I think.
Yeah, did they retreat? She scares them off, or
I think they just take him out.
I wasn't really sure how
Yeah,
that
it seemed like
that scene kind of ended. Like I felt like the Germans retreated, and then all of her guys, all the Allied side, rushed the line. But I couldn't tell.
I feel like they took out, to me, they took out the front trench, that front line that they had, like all of them. And then whoever was left in the town, like the remaining occupying troops in the town, they ended up wiping them out too.
And then everyone got gassed.
Yeah, then everyone got gassed.
But like,
Let me see
okay,
here.
so the doctor lady,
Yeah.
Dr. Maru,
Mm-hmm.
Elena, Anaya,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
like the mask and like the cheese villain factor. It was
Yeah.
just like, oh my god, she's like cooking up her witch's brews of chemicals.
Yeah.
It didn't land, man, with me at all.
All right. There is an awkward moment where they're like the meeting of the Axis generals or the German generals, and they shut the doors on him after she throws in the gas bomb.
Yeah, I like that.
And then she's like, "Why did you throw in a mask?" She's like, "It won't help them or it won't save them." And then he's like, "They don't know that." And then they do this like super campy laugh after. I was like, that's interesting. Because I feel like all the other moments, they're not trying to be campy. And then I felt like that moment, they were actually trying to be campy. That's interesting.
Yeah,
Let's see
the whole villain side is so kind of cheese. I hope the villain side, like even with Ares, man. Like I kind of liked how they revealed Ares, but when he like went into his like video game Lord of the Rings armor shit, I was just like lame. I'd have much rather seen like a really gritty fight between them.
Yeah.
Rather than like a Mortal Kombat special moves battle.
Oh, yeah.
Like with all the lights and stuff.
Yeah, I don't think this genre's for you, man.
But it's like, okay, so what have we done? What have we done that had some crazy special effect like that? Project Power.
Yeah, Project
So
Power.
there were some power elements in that movie that I enjoyed.
That's like low-key a superhero film.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think films like that, films like Project Power in particular, are taking a jab at the superhero genre, I think, and trying to change it up a little bit and trying to make it a little bit more real world, a little more gritty.
That language, or not language, but like the accent that they all have, like the kind of British accent that all the Amazon women have on the island.
Oh. All right, so you want to know what that is, though? It's interesting.
Because they do that in shows where it's like old Rome. It's like the same accent that's in like old Greek mythology movies and stuff.
So I got a little interesting tidbit on the accent thing. So Gal Gadot, she is Jewish.
Yeah, she's from Israel, right?
She is from Israel. That's just the natural way she speaks in this film. So what the director did was, rather than have her change her accent, she had everyone on the island mimic Gal Gadot's accent.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so the accent that they have is trying to mimic how she talks.
Yeah, but to me it sounds very similar to like that kind of like generic, almost British, old like historical movie accent, like the Spartacus, Blood and Sand. You remember that show on Stars, I think, or something?
Mm-hmm.
And like Rome on HBO a long time ago, like 15, 20 years ago, whenever the hell that was.
Yeah.
But that's like the sometimes in like it's almost like in Troy a little bit, or Troy.
Mm-hmm.
That's like it's kind of like this standard Mediterranean, almost British, kind of way of speaking English. It's interesting.
Yeah, so that's the story behind that. I'm just going through the cast list real quick. I think one of my favorite characters in this film is Samir. So the actor Saeed,
Yeah.
Oh, I don't even want to butcher his last name. Tagmawi.
Togmawi.
Yeah, Saeed Tagmawi. I liked his performance in
Me
this
too.
movie.
Actually, I kind of
Because he's
liked him too.
he lightens up the mood a little bit, and I just like the kind of character he plays where he's kind of like the sleazy dealer, but he has a heart, and he's just kind of there, even though he doesn't want to be.
Yeah, I did like that little dynamic between him and Charlie and the
Yeah.
chief, Eugene
Mhm.
Brave Rock.
Yeah.
That was about the only little kind of group of actors besides Gal Gadot.
Yeah.
I loved how like her hotness made everyone uncomfortable the whole movie. That was like one kind of like subtlety that I really enjoyed. You know, do
you
you get
think-
what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you can tell how uncomfortable all the males are in when they're on screen with her, and I believe
Yeah.
they're trying to do it on purpose, just because she's like
Yeah.
aggressively hot. You know,
Right. Yeah.
I think that's a funny comedy element, and like when she was one of the action scenes, I think it was like the culmination of the No Man's Land bum rush of the line when she gets into the buildings and she's fucking dudes up. She was
Yeah.
like seemed way bigger than all the guys. Did
Oh,
you
gotcha.
notice that?
Yeah.
Like was
Like
that
actual side by side or how she was filmed?
like how she was filmed? Like there was a few times where like she was center frame and there was like 3 German dudes around her and she was doing some crazy moves, you know?
Yeah. Did you
And
also
she
notice
looked-
how low all the angles were?
Yeah, but she looked huge compared to all of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. I think the coolest part of that whole major sequence is when she just busts the top of that church open.
Yeah.
It's pretty badass. It's like shooting a tank through there. Yeah, I mean, I'm going down. There are some lines, like, to be fair, there are some lines in this film that are pretty, like, yeah, upon rewatch, they're a little bit hard to get through. And I get what you're saying, too, with, I think the scene where her aunt dies,
Okay.
and you have the score playing, like, in all those moments. Yeah, I understand where you're coming from.
I don't know. Maybe it's a perception issue for me because like I do see everything through like a goofy lens. So when something is really cheesy, it's like I
Mhm.
can't help but laugh at it.
Yeah. I think more so for me, like the score. Actually, the elements of score I like in this film the most are. I mean, we're not even on there yet. Maybe I'll save it to.
Yeah, save it.
I'll
We
save
got
it.
to
I'll
get
save
to the part of the
Alright.
movie that I actually liked.
All right, so let's talk about cinematography. I mean, what were some of the? Were there any shots in particular that where you were like, wow?
Yeah, I had a lot of wows and a lot of like, ooh,
Okay.
that wasn't very good. Like some of the bad stuff was like the digital landscapes in the areas and like when some of her jumping.
Yeah.
Because she does some pretty monster leaping in the movie, like off of stuff. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that looked pretty shitty.
Yeah, and I think there's something wrong with the physics, the way they weight those CG models.
Right?
Because it's like she looks like she's 10 pounds heavier, but moving like 4 times faster. I mean, not 10 pounds heavier, but like 100 pounds heavier. Like their physics are just off with the movement, and it looks really bad.
But then on like, kind of the same side of the coin, when they're doing all the jumping around in the training
Yeah.
and like the horse work and stuff, like all that, I really liked it. And I was like, damn, this is pretty cool. So it was like a kind of a really hit or miss type of thing. There were elements that I really loved.
Yeah.
From like an action standpoint and a CG standpoint, like when she's taking all that machine gun fire on her shield,
Yeah.
I love that scene. Like I thought that looked awesome,
Yeah. That was pretty cool.
and then she would go jump off something, and I'd be like, oh, that doesn't look cool at all. And she's like kind of dabbling between this world where she can fly and not fly,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on this on the the CG, it is very hit or miss. I think a lot of the elements where the CG is great are a lot of like the landscapes and visuals of like cities and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Themyscira is like gorgeous.
Yeah, but some of it's hit or miss. Like a lot of the times it looked really great, and then there were a few scenes where the whole ocean islands were like not that great looking.
Oh, okay.
And I felt I was like, oh, that's almost like video gamey a little bit.
What did you think of London, the way they did London?
So I liked when they came in on the ship,
Uh-huh.
and then it's kind of really hard to get a gauge on it when it's all the
Yeah.
other stuff, because it's all just like quote unquote urban set type stuff, you know?
Yeah. And then what were your thoughts on like the big end fight between her and Ares in terms of like the CG?
So like again, there was stuff I liked about it, and there was stuff that I didn't like about it. Like throw some examples out there. Like I didn't like that Ares was like floating in the sky on fire
Uh-huh.
with all of his like stone armor type shit.
Uh-huh.
But I did like in that exact same moment how she was being squeezed by the metal that he had like conjured up with his
Yeah.
Magneto skills, you know? So it was like very hit or miss. Like a lot of like when she gets blasted off and lands somewhere, and like there were so many scenes where she just like comes flying out of the air and takes out a truck or something. I loved all of that. You know, and then she'd go float up in the sky and shoot her white laser beam thingies.
Yeah, her gauntlets.
Yeah, and I didn't like that stuff. And then like I liked the whip action. I like when she was
Yeah.
using her whip and she was slamming stuff.
Yeah.
So it was like very hit or miss, you know? Some
Yeah,
of the
no, I
stuff
think
I was
that's-
really into, some of it I was like,
That's fair. But yeah, compared to a lot of the Marvel films, because I think Marvel does CG incredibly well. This film it has some rough patches in it. And it's like, for me, anytime you model a full-on person in CG and use them in an action cut, it just looks off. And you get a lot of that in this movie. So that was like an original complaint I always had about this film. Let's see. Some of the cinematography, I'm trying to think, like...
there were some very pretty shots, man. Some of the forest stuff.
Yeah, I think there's some... I'm not the biggest fan of slow-mo, but I think in this film there are some cool action parts that are in slow-mo that come across pretty well.
I like when they, you know, do the slow-mo and then speed back up in the same action. Like
Yeah.
a lot of the training stuff, and then a lot of like the cavalry charge on the beach.
Right.
And like some of the I love when they show the precision arrow shots. Like that shit's
Yeah.
awesome, man.
But yeah, I do think the best filmed sequence in this whole film is the No Man's Land crossing. Like the way it's edited, some of
That's-
like the cool perspective shots of like bullets and stuff.
A lot of the imagery that they use for marketing probably comes from that scene, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I'm sure a lot of it did. But that's all anyone was talking about was that one sequence. It was like the highlight for a lot of people.
Well, and those kind of scenes can make a movie like this worth seeing in the theater, right?
Yeah, for
Because
sure.
I totally enjoyed the hell out of that just in my house, and all the slow parts bugged the shit out of me. But
Yeah.
you do get way more hyped on crazy action scenes in a theater.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. But yeah, I'm trying to think. There's not a whole lot more I could say on like the look of the film.
Yeah, it's
So I'm dying to know.
I think I've expressed pretty well how I feel about this category.
I don't think you have. Let's see. Let's talk a little bit about the score here. All right. So yeah, I know what moments for you probably work the least, but I'll tell you from my opinion where they work the best. And I think the intro of the film, so like I'm talking about once you get like the Warner Brothers logo going and stuff like that, and you start to hear the score fade in a little bit, and then you get like a massive landscape perspective on, what is it, Paris, like modern day Paris?
Yeah.
Mostly like, I think where the score works the best in this film is during all of the non-dialogue scenes. It's like all of the scenes where you're seeing like Themyscira and you're watching them like train and their score playing. The No Man's Land sequence is like some of my favorite score. And then at the very end of the film, during the celebration, like for the end of the war, like the armistice, I love all that score too.
So that's interesting you say that, because when I think back on the parts that bugged me the most about the score, they were all during dialogue.
Yeah. And I know for you, that's where you hate score.
Yeah, it's too cheesy.
But to be fair, like, yeah, I think I feel the same in this movie. And I get your criticism too, because
I can't even
like,
really remember the score too well during
the non-dialogue scenes.
During the action.
Yeah. Yeah, so for me, those are my favorite moments for score. It's funny because
So
I thought we were going to be like arguing a little bit more, but all the points you're making are like completely fair. It's like,
well, and here's the thing, like you don't have to feel like it knocks it down for you if you like that kind of stuff, right?
well, no, that's the thing. I think the reason why it doesn't knock it down for me is because it's more of a genre thing.
Yeah.
And this film was a genre film.
Yeah, and I loved Bill and Ted, and we're talking cheese. So
Oh,
like,
yeah.
yeah, it goes both ways.
For sure.
But here, I'll try and make an argument
Okay.
for less cheesy score. Okay.
Okay.
Any sketch comedy show you've ever seen
Yeah, that's parodying
that
something.
is parodying something, what they lean into the most, because
Yeah, it's
it emphasizes the cheese, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my argument. Like,
No, that's-
you can
and it's a
have
great
the
argument.
booming, triumphant score during really huge crescendos of the movie,
Yeah.
but like there is score for almost like every damn second of this movie.
There's a lot of score in this
It's
movie.
like the whole goddamn movie.
Yeah. Uh-huh. There's a lot of it.
And that's just too much.
Yeah. It's I think it comes down to like a genre thing, really, in my honest opinion. It's like, and then I think of a film like Star Wars, right? Which is a movie series franchise that is known for its score.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of score in those movies too.
Well, and those are like repeating melodies that have like a place
Yeah.
in people's memory. You know, this is a one-off. Like, is it going to be similar melodies in the next one? Are they going to start drilling it into you?
Right. Yeah.
Because a melody can mean way more, right? In a movie franchise when it's repeated over decades.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of that too. But no, I actually agree with you quite a bit on your criticism with the score, because I think where the score doesn't work for me are in the same moments that you just laid out.
Yeah, and I think the big difference is it doesn't work for me at like a heavier weight than you.
Yeah.
Right? Because it doesn't, like, you acknowledge it, but it doesn't ruin the movie for you, and I'm kind of a little bit on the other side of that fence.
Yeah, for sure. That's totally fair. Oh man, I should have been taking some like stills of your face during this podcast. Just post a bunch of them.
Go for it. Or actually, no,
It's
don't
like-
do it.
Yeah, maybe one day. All right, well, let's not prolong this a whole lot longer. Let's talk about love hates. Let's start with you.
All right, I love Gal Gadot, and her as Wonder Woman, I'm totally on board with.
Yeah.
And I'll totally see the next one because of her.
Okay.
And kind of what I hate is that I have this kind of burned
I was expecting you to say,
preconception.
the other thing I hate is everything else.
No, not everything else. I told you I like some elements of the story.
Yeah.
I like the little bit of the dudes that were fighting the good fight, you know, the little team. But what I
Yeah.
hate is that I have this like preconception burned into my head about superhero movies.
Yeah.
And if I see one, and like any one of if the dartboard gets hit anywhere on my skeptometer of like why I don't like them, it sets them all off.
Yeah, I get you.
So like I almost have like a really wicked bias towards disliking it from the get-go.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. I almost want to do a bunch of these movies now just to see what sticks, if anything sticks. I'd be curious, not because I'm trying to sell you on the genre, but just because I'd want to see like which ones work for you if they do. But I
Yeah,
have a
let's
funny
do it.
feeling like maybe a couple of the early DCEU films might be more up your alley.
I feel like you have to make a better argument for why you don't like something than why you do. So I'll keep watching them. It makes me think harder.
All right. So, my love hates. I also love Gal Gadot. I like the message of this film, even though it's been given to us before. And what is it, 2017? This movie came out during a time when it was like, at least here in America, we were getting used to some new different things. I'll just say that. And I think this movie came out during the right time.
Feels like a long time ago, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. 2017. It's crazy. And I love the most like the biggest element of this film that I enjoy more than anything else is the fish out of water and the lore, all the Greek mythology and the lore of Wonder Woman's backstory. Like I could eat that up all day long, and like I want to see Wonder Woman in every different time period. Like I just want to see how she reacts to like the 30s and 40s and 50s, and even now. But the next film, interestingly, is called Wonder Woman 84, and it takes place in 1984.
Where is she? In Eastern Europe?
No, I think she's here in the States, actually.
Huh?
So Justice League came out after this film, and you get a little bit more of an update in terms of like where she is modern day. And but that's oh man, you would hate that film. Even I am not a huge fan of that film. But I like that we were able to get this out of the way so that we can prime ourselves for Wonder Woman 84.
I'm totally pumped to see the next one, by the way. Like, even though I didn't really enjoy this,
Yeah.
like the action scenes were rewarding enough to where I'm like totally in to see the next one, because what if I do like the story in the next one, because I totally like this stuff. Or action-wise, I like this stuff.
Yeah, totally fair.
And maybe they'll go darker. I doubt it, though, because this has a total, like, 8 to 13 super targeted kid thing, right?
Yeah, PG-13, this movie. Oh, and then my hates, real quick. My hates are, I wish the Germans in this movie spoke German, and I wish they were a little bit more consistent with their use of CGI, because there are some scenes that just stick out like a sore thumb. But other than that, I mean, I really like this movie. I liked it when it first came out, and I still enjoy watching it for the reasons I just gave. So, let's slap our own score on it, shall we? So let's start with you, El Toddo.
I'm giving it 2. 2 bong loads.
2.
It gets a total point for the cinematography.
Mm-hmm.
And then it gets a total point because there were elements of the story that I enjoyed.
Gotcha.
Like framework-wise, I kind of enjoyed the thing, and I wouldn't mind to see it play out more in future movies, like the element of her backstory. I could see that being cool. Bring some more gods into the mix. And
yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know a whole lot about this new one, so
2 bong loads. The music was bad. It's getting no score. A lot of the acting I did not buy into is getting no score there.
Gotcha.
And the
All
story,
right, 2.
yeah, 2. It's a solid 2.
2. Solid 2.
And I gotta say, the 93 on Rotten Tomatoes is not correct.
It's not correct.
It's not
correct.
All empirical. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing about this, right? And like, I don't want to drag this out, but I think the thing that's so hard about movies is like you're trying to be objective about something so subjective. And I know like sometimes people are all over the board. So for me, it's always just interesting. I think the whole reason this podcast came about is because your take on things was so interesting to me.
Yeah, I have a way more like, weight. You need break it down by numbers, right?
Yeah,
That's the way I look at all of it, and I don't know. There's no way that like with the simple ass dialogue and the cheesy ass music that you can like reward them points for that. I just feel like a lot of Rotten Tomatoes scores are really just how does the movie make you feel rather than evaluating the whole.
I can guarantee you that's what a lot of it
just
is.
how does it make you feel rather than evaluating the whole art form, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guarantee you that's what most of the reviews are, I think, is how a movie makes you feel. And to be honest, I get that way too sometimes. I get that way a lot of times.
Well, that's their intention, right? To make you feel.
Yeah. Right.
It's a twisted riddle.
Well, let's get
movies. What's your score, man?
It is. All right, so let me jump into that touchy-feely area a little bit. I'm going to give this movie a 4.
All right.
Yeah, I remember watching it the first time, and I did like the way it made me feel. It was like I was able to watch a really badass character, Wonder Woman, played by a really good actress. I bought into some of the like the lighter moments. Some of the cheese I was like okay with. I really liked score. I liked some of the effects, but that wasn't why I liked the film. And I don't know. I really like the way they packaged this character, I think. The way that they give you her backstory, which is pretty interesting, and kind of like introducing her to the cinematic world. This is like the first time we get to see her on the big screen. Not the first time we've seen her live action, because Linda Carter played her in the 70s. But yeah, for me, it was a good go at like introducing the world to Wonder Woman within this like DC universe that they built.
Yeah, I'll give you that. It's exactly the type of superhero origin movie you would expect.
Yeah. So 4 for me.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think it's better when we're farther apart.
Yeah, me too. Because, I mean, it's funny. You and I tend to have similar feelings about films. I'm trying to remember what we thought about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. We should do that at some point.
Yeah, we didn't do it.
We didn't do that one. But we've both seen it. We'll do that at some point. If it gets real slow, we might even do it soon. Well, let's see. Well, that's all I got, man.
Yeah.
I'm kind of drawing at straws to stretch this out a little bit more, but I think we've said all we need to say.
Or I'm on board to do more superhero movies because I need to form an argument as to why I don't like them. So
you need to increase your sample size.
Yeah. So. And see if I do like them, because this is really the first one. I don't really consider that Birds of Prey movie like a superhero movie.
Yeah, it's technically not.
So, and I actually enjoyed that. So this is like the first big, but there's like quite a catalog of all of these that we can ram through, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of them.
I'm down to do it because if I want to maintain my position that superhero movies suck, I need to back it up. So
yeah, N equals. It needs to increase. The El Toddo formula for we're gonna come up with a formula for you.
It's all about data, movie, dude.
So that was episode 47. We just broke down a little bit. Wonder Woman from 2017, directed by Patty Jenkins. We will catch you guys on the next episode. Stay safe out there, everyone, and have a good week.
Peace.